Good morning. Just to recap on yesterday, we disconnected the power units and we started on the structural frames. So I did change plans halfway through because I noticed that the height where the cabinetry at the top would be was the same height as pre-cut wood. I did think about it last night, and these structures that I've made, I need to reassess this because the original way that I had it allowed for sliding doors, whereas this one I'm not too sure if it will fit just yet because the seats the passenger seat still needs to go up, so I can't use any of the space behind that passenger seat because the mechanics still need to get to the engine, which is actually under the passenger seat. So I'll just show you that to start off with. So let's say latch here. Yeah, so in a Toyota Hiace, there's a latch under the passenger seat and the seat goes up and the engine is actually under there. So it's quite nice in winter if you're a passenger because it's nice and warm in that seat. It's like heated seatings, but for everything else it's a little bit annoying that it's not at the front. Because of that, I need to make sure that the mechanics can still get to it. So I think I should be right even if I do put a railing here, because it looks like it is elevated, so it looks like I can put a structure there for the sliding mechanism. Yeah, let's go with that, because then I won't have to redo it for a third time. Yeah, let's get started on that now. So yesterday when I made the structures, it got a bit too late for me to drill securing screws in. The screws that I did get were slightly too small. So I went to the hardware store this morning and got some longer screws. I'm hoping these 60mm screws are long enough. It is 10 mils more than the ones that I had yesterday, but we'll get started on that now. I finished screwing in the screws for the framing. Let's chuck it in. Okay, so both of them fit quite well. The frame over here, I need to make sure that it's on this side of where the wall lining ends. That way you can't see any of the uneven cuts in the vinyl planks, and it with the backing on it, it should sit flush on that vinyl wall. With this side here, I need to check how it fits here. So let me just take some more measurements and we'll continue on. I think after I've secured these in place, I'm gonna do the cabinetry, because that's not gonna be a moving structure. And then after that, then we will do the sliding doors. Before I start securing these in and putting the cabinetry on, I'm just gonna double check to make sure that I can't actually see this line in the rear view mirror. Otherwise I'm gonna have to make some adjustments, so fingers crossed. Yeah, I can't see it, which is good. Yeah, even as the taller or shorter person, I can't see that line. Okay, so now I know where the structures are going to sit. I need to re-measure the top of it. So if you can see here, the angle goes outwards. So it's going to be shorter on this side than it is on this side. That side is fine. There's a little bit of an angle, but nothing much. But this side, because the wood is quite deep, I need to take measurements of that. I think I have my angles measured up. So it's less of a gradient on that side than it is on this side. So the angle's actually quite steeper on this side. I am just gonna double check that. It does look right, because this side here does not have this thing. So it's less of a difference between the wall and the van body. I'll just re-measure that at the front side and the back side, and we'll get started on that. Okay, so I just remembered something. I wanted the cargo cabinetry to be sticking out a little bit, so that I can stick LED lights underneath it. So I'm just going to need to adjust that for a couple of centimeters. Actually, I may also have railings on there. Let me see what the difference is, and we'll go with the best measurement. But I'll get back to you when I finish measuring this up. Yeah, so it looks like I'll have to adjust these measurements. So I want about 5 centimeters of it to overhang out into the cargo side, just so that I can stick LEDs and possibly a railing. So let's readjust this and we'll get cutting. Something's not feeling right with the adjustments that I've made. So in my head, this triangle here is what needs to be cut out, as well as this square. So the edge would be like this, and same with this side. But I don't know, something just feels off. So I am going to cut a template out with the baking paper and line it up. Well, I already found one mistake where I had measured 5 centimeters here originally. This one, sorry, originally this one, it's because I had the ruler sitting against the edge like that, whereas 1 centimeter, actually the 0 centimeter starts here, so it should have been there. So let's cut it out anyway, and we'll place it on and just be certain that it is correct. I was just thinking, when people ask me how I build my van, I can tell them truthfully with empty beer bottles and baking paper, and gauge their confused reactions. Okay, here's my template. How are we going to stick this on? It's proving exceedingly difficult to put sticky tape on baking paper. It just keeps slipping off. I have measured the angle. The angle is correct. Yeah, so I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, the angle is correct on both sides. I'm just not sure about the distance apart, because it looks like the baking paper is sagging, which would indicate that it is wrong. I'm just going to measure that once more. Yeah, it is slightly off, maybe by a centimeter or so. I'm just going to cut it to this plane, and then get an actual gauge. That way I can just shave it back, cutting it off little by little until I get the right dimensions. I've made my cuts, so it is so that's 5 centimeters there, that straight part, and then the angle against the wall, and the same on the other side, 5 centimeters there, and then angled. Yeah, it is a little bit too big on this side, so I'm going to shave off maybe a centimeter. I think it's still a little bit off. I need to put markers on for where these are going to sit. Still off. Alright, now I have the sizing for the tray. I am just going to measure up where these planks will secure into it. Yeah, okay, so on this side, it is sitting right on the edge, so I don't need to measure that. Okay, it looks like there's enough space on this side here as well that I can just have it sitting on the 5 centimeter mark. Now I've got my structures and the compartment space, so I'm going to put these things along this line here. So this 5 centimeters will be overhang into the cargo bay where I can put LED lights and possibly a railing, and this part will be in the cabin section. The measurements seem to indicate that I can just put the edge of the structures there. So that's what I'm going to do. If it doesn't line up, I'll just undo it and redo it, because it's on the underside. It's not going to be seen. I was just thinking of a way for me to drill this in. I don't have enough clamps to secure everything into place. So what I'm thinking is I'll drill them separately. I'll drill this bit, make a marking, and then drill the next bit. So since I don't have a pencil that will fit all the way through, I've just put the screws in this piece, and then I'm just going to pop it down on that, and it'll make 2 markings. I have the second frame screwed in. Now I've just got to try and Tetris it in there somehow. Somehow managed. Okay, so this side is fine, it's sitting flat. This side is not, it's a little bit off. It is that front bit. It's only like a millimeter, so I might just use the hacksaw to cut that little bit off. Okay, I'll just show you what I mean by it sitting flat. So this is in there. You can see it is touching the edge here. But what I'm more concerned about is this bit here sitting flat. So both of these, yeah, I can push that in. Both of these are up against this. There's no angle on it this way. It's sitting flat against it. That way I can drill holes and screw it into the actual body of the car. The long pieces here are the correct height. I did have to like kind of force it in to the bottom which means it's supporting the weight, which is what I wanted. So I'm very happy that the weight distribution is actually going to the bottom of the frame, rather than it having to, you know, worry about it falling over. I am going to put some reinforced brackets on the backside, just to provide it a bit more stability there. I'm going to start securing the framing into the hull. I just need to drill some holes and screw it in. I may need to move that battery. I will try without, but because the battery's really heavy. Yeah, I might need to slide it out or anything, but let's just drill it in. It looks like the power drill won't fit behind because of the gas tank. I'm going to try the little cordless one, but I don't know if it'll be powerful enough to actually drill through the metal. It seems that the cordless drill doesn't it doesn't have the right socket for the drill bits, the drill heads. So I'm just going to screw it in on and drill in on an angle. It's better than nothing, I guess. I finished screwing them in. It is on a slight angle, nothing too bad. It's going to be covered anyway, so it doesn't really matter too much in the long run. I think we will start the secured unmovable parts now, and then we'll move on to the sliding rails. So as I mentioned yesterday, I'm going to be using structural ply for the barrier. I was thinking of cabinetry yesterday, but now that I've got that shelf on top, I don't need it. It's just wasted headspace. But I still happy with the structural ply because the backrest for the lounge is actually going to be sitting up against it. So the structural ply along with the structural framing will be enough to support anyone's weight. These planks are 1.2 meters long, as are the structural framing work that I put in, so I'm hoping this will fit very nicely, and we should only have to cut out one side. I might just put you down for a sec. That is perfect, which is great because this is going to save me a lot of time. All I need to do is get this contour. So as I mentioned before, I'm going to be using my baking paper trick to get the contour correct. I did have issues sticking sticky tape on baking paper, but let's just do it anyway. Alright, this time around, because there's weird little angles, I'm gonna cut at each measurement that I make, just so that it sits flat. and the next measurement that I take isn't skewered up. So I just freehand drew along this edge on the baking paper. It's a little messy, but it looks correct. So I'm just gonna smooth it out while I'm cutting, and then we'll measure it again. But I think the angles look correct. I will use this template to draw up on the ply, and then we can, I'll leave a little bit of a gap and then we can just sand it back. So I put my template on the ply that I'm going to be using. I switched it over from this one because this side has the sticker on it and they're exceedingly difficult to pull off. And I don't want to be wasting time treating it with eucalyptus. The other side has these notches on them, and inside the cabin I'm just going to be painting it on the inside. On the other side it'll be carpet, but I can't paint over that. You will still see it come through. So I'm using a cleaner sheet. So I've put my template on. I'm just going to freehand draw around it again. As I said, I'm going to leave a millimeter or so off so I can sand it to the exact shape. The edging that I cut with the jigsaw looks pretty close, except for this little corner here. It was a little too steep for me to turn with the straight blade on the jigsaw, but let's measure it up inside and then we'll make the modifications that we need. That cable's in the way. Yeah, so it is that corner that's blocking it off. Let's shave a little bit off that and we'll try again. It looks like the other contours look fine. Yeah, it's just that one corner. I finished shaving off that little curved piece there. It's sitting pretty well. So I just need to brace this up a bit, and then I can put it in. I'm gonna sand off the edges to make it smooth, and there's also this little bit here, so I'm just thinking I might cut it like that and then curve it up and then curve it here. I finished sanding the edges of this cut side. I am fairly happy with the cut. It is sitting pretty flat against that. So before I secure it in, I want to make the other piece sit there and have both the pieces there, just so that I can check and make sure that the rear view mirror is not obstructed. Otherwise I'm going to need to shave this down back more. I just noticed a problem with the way that I've put on this ply. Because of the structural framing, there's a gap on the side here. I'm tossing up whether to put I'm tossing up whether to put the edge trimmings on, like on the back corners. It does actually conceal that gap, but I can't do that with the uneven edge. I might leave it for now and finish the other one first. I'll have a think about it once I make up my mind. If I do go for this framing stuff, I'll just cut that into a straight piece, because this is a lot easier to put on a straight piece than on a curved one. So yeah, I've finished the driver's side barrier. This one was a lot easier because it was just a triangle that I needed to cut out, and I actually used math to work out that angle. I do remember some geometry. Yeah, so it's come up pretty close. I just need to sit it up a bit. So what I'm going to do now is to leave these structures in place. I'll put this one back up, and then test out the rear view mirror. As I said, I use that rear view mirror quite a lot, no matter what car I'm driving. So I want to make absolute certain that I can see out that. Yeah, it looks really good. I cannot see either of these structures from the mirror. Before I go up to the hardware store, I need to make sure that because the top edge is curved on this side, I need to make sure that these secondary sliding panels is actually going to close off this cabin. So this side shouldn't be a problem, because it's a square, it's a right angle on this, well, not a right angle, but it is obtuse, so it doesn't matter that there's excess there. It will still sit flat. This side though, because it curves, I don't know if this plank will fit behind it without me having to cut a curve into it. And if I cut a curve into it, when I slide it closed, it's going to have that cut on that side as well. So I just want to make sure that the minimum distance from this top edge, when I have it slided out, it's going to create the barrier without any gaps. So it looks like there's 25 centimeters minimum space. The planks are 40 centimeters across. Is 28. So 28 plus 23 is 28 plus 25 is 53. So it doesn't look like it will fit all the way across. I can stagger it so that there's more than one rail behind each other. But I just want to see if I can extend this out a bit more, because if I can without obstructing the view, I might be able to do it in the two pieces. No, so that is obstructing the mirror. Not by a lot, but it is obstructing it, and I don't want any obstructions whatsoever. So it looks like the total distance between each plank is 590, and the two minimum lengths between each other is 530. So there's 60 millimeters difference there. So what I could do is to have a third slider, one behind one of them, or have a hinge. Alternatively, I could just put extra carpeting on the back side of it, but then on this side you'll see the carpeting. It'll be paint, which it won't look good. So I think I will stagger the sliders, and maybe have the extra slide on this. Another thought did occur to me, and that was because this side is slightly bigger, so that was 28 centimeters, whereas this side was 25. My other thought was to have two more average, so to have an average size both on one side. So let's just say the distance between the two boards is 600 mils. Half of that would be 300 mils. So to have two 300 mil sliders, that might actually work, because while this is obstructing the view, there's a good 10-11 centimeters where the board currently is. So I'm just going to test that theory out to see if those extra 2 centimeters will obstruct the view or not. So I'm just going to use one of these timber pieces of wood, because I know they're 19 millimeters. It's close enough. Yeah, so that's looking good. That extra 2 centimeters did not register on, it didn't show up on the mirror. So I think I will go for that, to have 2 pieces. That way I only need to get 1 pair of sliders, because sliders can be quite expensive. So yeah, let's cut out these plywoods and we'll go up to the hardware store. Okay, so when I was re-measuring the distance between the fronts, and the front two pieces, the empty space in between, the measurements were off. So I think it was about 700 mils, which means each side would have to be 35. I think this is just one of those things where I'm gonna have to put it up first and then see if it does work. I can always just put an extra sliding door in, so I haven't cut these pieces long ways, like I haven't shortened them. I've only cut them to height. So let's finish building the front frame, and then we can worry about the sliding later. Otherwise I'm wasting too much time working out math problems which don't work out. Oh, I forgot to mention, I said before that I might put some aluminium framing on the side here. I think I will go with that. It just looks nicer and it'll tie in with the rest of the trimmings a lot better. So I am just going to cut this flat, and then we will put some undercoat on. If you don't put undercoat on, the paint will start peeling, especially in the sun and the heat. So I will put the undercoat, and then we'll go up to the hardware store. I finished prepping the plywood that I've cut. Just gonna let them dry, but before we head up to the hardware store, I just wanted to show you the paint selections that I have. So I actually picked these up on the first or second video, but I wanted to check out the different colors as the sun was moving. So I actually have had these mounted around the car, and checked on them at different times of the day. So so these are the colors here. So they actually drastically change when they're out of the sun, when they're in the sun, and when they're partially in the sun. So even that, you know, up against the wall compared to in the shade, there's a huge variation there. So my initial thought when I was at the hardware store was to get this one, but looking at it in the especially the afternoon sun seems to cause the most dramatic change in the color. The afternoon sun seems to be more orangey than the day sun. So my initial thought at the hardware store was to get this one, but after the first day I saw how dark it was. It was almost grey, whereas these two are a bit more blue. And then the second time I went around, I thought this color, because it looked nicer in the white lights that were at the hardware store. But with the walls up as well, that's another factor that I didn't have when I went and picked these up. With the walls up and the floor, having a look at it in the shade, I'm actually leaning towards this one here, Reflections, the middle one, because it actually looks a lot nicer up against that white the white wall. I feel as though the bottom one is a bit too dark, so I will probably opt for that middle one there. But yeah, just something to consider before buying paint. Check it out at different times of the day, because that if I had gone with my first on the spot instinct, I would have been wrong and I would have regretted it. I'm back from the hardware store. The primer has dried, so I'm gonna get started on painting these first. I don't know if it'll need 1 or 2 layers, so I'll just do it one at a time and we'll test it in and outside and see what the color difference is. I finished painting the first coat. It looks pretty nice. While I was painting it, I realized that color spectrum, I think it's meant for baby rooms, and that's probably why the bottom color was called It's a Boy and this one's called Reflections. But I don't know, it soothes me. The paint has dried now. I think it's getting a little bit too late to start mounting them up, so I might save that for tomorrow morning. All we should have to do is mount them up and put these sliding rails on. I did forget to buy the aluminium trimmings at the hardware store anyway, so I'll go pick those up first thing tomorrow. I think I will also try and get the battery system hooked up again, just because it's a lot more convenient to use the power tools inside when there's a wall socket that I can use. So we'll finish off the barrier, and I'll put a backing on the top bit where the shelf is, and then we'll reconnect the power system. I'm pretty happy with the colour. I don't think it needs a second coat. I don't see any of the plywood green coming through, so I think it's fine. Yeah, I think that's about it for today. Thanks again for joining.